5:46. I'm just going to wait a minute to see if anybody hops on with us. Tonight we're going to work on something really cute. I posted a couple of pictures of it, of the little purpley mauve dresser set that I'm working on. So it's going to be 2 dressers, a long one, a tall one, which is this one, and then 2 night tables and a headboard. And the headboard is really sweet and curved. It's a beautiful headboard set. Hi there. So we're going to work on that, and what I've done today on this is I've finished sanding it all, and then I've given it a base coat of just a really light gray. And the reason I did that is because it had sort of a cherry finish on it. When I was sanding it, the cherry stain was coming up pretty good, and I just didn't want it to bleed into the paint, although I did do the other 2 nightstands without any base coat on it, and they didn't bleed through at all. So it was just the cherry stain was just, I was just being a little bit extra cautious. So what I plan to do with this set is either sell it as a full complete bedroom set for a little girl, or split it up. So 1 nightstand, 1 tall dresser, then the other set would be 1 nightstand, 1 long dresser, 7 drawers, and the headboard. So I can get 2 sets out of this 1 big set that I purchased. Hi there. Thanks for joining, guys. If you know any friends that paint or want to paint or interested in decor, please share. I'm trying to build up my Facebook viewership and my YouTube viewership, and I have to tell you, it's not that easy to do, but I'm trying to provide good content. A lot of these videos take a lot of prep, and then just the remix to put them on YouTube takes probably about an hour and a half each video for me to do, and then the actual painting. So what I do is I do some of the painting here to show you basically what I've done or what I will do, and then I'll maybe finish the rest off camera, and then I'll show you part 2, and that's how we do it. And then I just keep posting them so that you keep learning them. So share, follow us on YouTube. If you go to our channel at Flandrens Interiors, you can subscribe there. And subscribe does not mean you're subscribing to YouTube. My husband had this conversation the other day. He said, well, even I'm not YouTube. I don't want to be subscribed to YouTube. And I said, no, it's subscribed to me so that when I post a new video, you get the content notifier. That's all it is. So you can subscribe to anybody, but it's not just an overall YouTube subscription, so you don't have to worry about that. So what I have done with this piece, it was really gunky. It had something on it like syrup, is the only way I can explain it. And then in a lot of places it had something like old bubble gum or something that dried really weird. Just randomly, it had stickers on it we had to take off. Some of the drawers were sticking, and on the long dresser they still are, and I've bought new drawer runners for those. But what I did was I took my palm sander, which is just a square flat sander, and I went over all the flat surfaces, including all the drawer fronts, the top, everything, with 150 grit. So some people say to use like 220, and I used to be one of those people, but actually I found that it takes way longer to prep a piece, to scuff it up with 220 than it does with 150 or even 180. So I just use 150 because it cuts to the quick. It gets through what I need to get it through. You need to clean it with something like TSP or Crud Cutter or Dawn dish soap and water, and then rinse it off. But I use TSP from Fusion. You can get other TSPs, but I like theirs because I don't have to rinse it off after. It saves me a step. I actually took my TSP, this is how gross this was. I took the TSP, sprayed it all over, and then took steel wool, mid-grade steel wool. It was 2-aught, and I actually scrubbed it with steel wool. Then I wiped it down, let it dry. Then I took the 150 sandpaper to it. So it's been, I had to do that though because it had so much crud on it. I don't know who touched it or what gummy fingers. A mess. This set, I would say, is a children's, the dressers maybe aren't, but the nightstands are more a children's size nightstand. I've got it over here. I'll show you really quickly in case you haven't seen them. And I haven't finished detailing them yet, but let's see. You can see here. That's them. They're really a beautiful pinky mauve and a little bit of a white highlight. And I wanted them to look like, if you've seen the movie Frozen, they have the blue and silver colors and white. And I know that a lot of kids really love that. But with the new Frozen movie out, there's a lot of this purpley white. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but it's beautiful. And I really like that color combination. So I thought, you know, this will be for a little kid. So we'll do that. A little girl would really like it. With the handles on this, it's got really nice handles, so I'm keeping those. But I want to show you something. This is the handles, and actually they've got the same syrup junk on the back. And so that's the color that the handles are now. This one hasn't been sprayed, but I wanted to give it a pure gold color, so I sprayed it. And can you see the difference between gold spray paint and the old? It's kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a worn out brassy gold. And even though it looked cute on the set, I decided to spray it. But that's the difference between gold spray paint and it's just plain old Rust-Oleum gold spray paint. So we're going to do that with all of them. And that will harden and it will be really nice for years to come. This one I think is maybe tarnishing a little bit from age. I would guess this set is probably 25 years old maybe. It's not an antique at all, or not even close to being an antique, but it is really solid. It is wood. I was actually rather amazed to see that it was. So I'm going to turn you around in a minute here. What I'm going to do tonight is we're going to start on some blending. So blending is taking, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors, depending on how many colors you want. With this, we're going to use 3. So I'm using Fusion Mineral Paint, and I'm using English Rose, and I'm using Raw Silk, which is an off-white, and I'm also using a Dixie Belle color. Dixie Belle has really beautiful pigmented, heavily pigmented mineral chalk paint. Fusion is a mineral acrylic paint. Dixie Belle is a mineral chalk paint, but I like some of their colors that we can't get with Fusion, and they're super easy to blend with the Fusion mineral paint. So I just started doing them and they work out fine. So we're going to do that with, this is the English Rose. It's a really pretty pink. So we'll do our outline with this, the body of it this color, and then a little bit of the Raw Silk, which is an off-white, as the highlight in the middle. So what I do with blending, and I am by no means an expert, I'm still teaching myself how to do this. I keep watching other people that blend paint so beautifully, and I wish I could be like that, but I just seem to always screw it up. So I've been really practicing a lot, and I think I'm kind of getting it. So I just want to tell you how I do it. When I was little, my mom used to get coloring books and a little package of crayons, and I don't know why, but every picture in the coloring book, I would take one color and I would outline. I would outline everything, and then I would color in between where I outlined. Every page of my jumbo coloring books had an outline picture, and I don't know if kids do that or not, or if it was just something that I did. But one day I got looking at a piece that I wanted to do, and I thought, you know, really, the dark color that I'm using, the darkest color, would be like the crayon outline, and then the body of the piece I'm doing, like say the drawers, the middle of the drawers would be my main color, and then the white is just a highlight color. So once I started to really figure that out in my head, and it took a long time, I started to sort of put it together, and I started to practice a little bit on boards and things like that. I'm still not super good at it, but I will say, just practice it a little bit. When you do blending, the key I found was to have a really good blending brush. So I will paint with other ones, but this is a really fat, I'd say almost a 3-inch, just a chalky type synthetic brush. It's super soft. And this is I'll put my paints on with 3 other brushes, one for each color. Then I blend it out with this. It's super soft, blends it out. And if there's a tiny little bit of streaking, I'll take just an ordinary flat, and this is perfectly dry, and it's synthetic on the tips, so it's super soft. And then I'll just blend out any tiny little bit of streaking, and that works for me. I know I've seen other painters who, they just use whatever brush and it seems to work, but that didn't work for me. So I really like the look of blending because I think it's just a really nice artistic way of doing pieces rather than just a one color type thing. But I had to figure it out a little bit for myself. So I'm going to show you how I do it. It might not work for you. It might be totally ridiculous. I am self-taught. I've never taken a course in any of this stuff. So if I look like a fool, I look like a fool, and it doesn't matter. But blending, one thing to keep in mind too is you will never get your colors blended properly on the first coat, probably not even on the second coat, and by the third coat you should have them blended perfectly. So with each layer that you do, it's going to build upon itself, and each layer you blend in just like the layer before it. I have found that if I do a base coat like I've done with this one, where I've done just a gray fuchsia I use just for a gray, and I just put it on roughly. It's, you know, it's fairly decently painted, but I wasn't worried about anything. It has no blobs or runs, so that's one thing I checked. But once I do the first coat tonight, I can probably go back and do a second, but then I must let it dry overnight solid, because when you do your third coat, that's when the true colors of your first and second coat are going to be there. And then, you know, hi, my YouTube went out for a second there. So the third coat, after you've let it dry really well, the second coat, your third coat, you can look at it, and if you want it lighter or darker, then you know to adjust it then, and you know where to put your highlights and that sort of thing. So the third coat is the charm. First and second coat look horrible, but it's a start. So I'm going to start doing this, and I'm going to try and get as much as I can done. I probably won't get it all done, but I'll show you just briefly how I do it. I found that if I use something like a little tin and I put my colors into it, so I'm going to put raw silk, the purple chalk paint, and the English rose, and I will mostly be using English rose. I'll be using a little bit of purple and a little bit of white. So these are my brushes. Yeah. So I'm going to use, no, this will be my white highlight brush. It's a really tiny 1 inch. This will be my purple, and this will be my pink. So I'll use a different brush for each one. So I'm going to let you look at this for a second, and I'm going to pour my paints into this container. I shall be right back. I've got them all ready to go, so I just have to pour. I don't want to tip it too much, but I've got my purple, my pink, and my white. And I did 2 things of pink because I think I'll be using them more so than any other color. I'm going to go over here, put my paints down. I've got little boxes and containers set up all over the place here, it seems like. I'm going to turn up the light so you can see a little better. Always handy to have light. And I think that's about good for... Okay, now one other thing that you will absolutely need, and you'll use quite a bit, is a little spray bottle. So I use one of these. This is a hairdressing mister bottle. I got it on Amazon for about $10. I use these rather than the squirt bottles like this. This is a regular squirt bottle, and this actually will spray too much water at once. So this one has a really fine mist. I don't know if you can see it. With the squirt bottles, the water comes out a little bit too heavy, so you really don't want that. So I'm going to do a couple of drawers. What I do is I'll do the drawers, I'll take them out, and then I'll do the frame. That's just how I do it, and I always pull them out a tiny little, because I don't want them Okay, so this has a layer of paint on it. So that layer is pretty dry. Now, what I'm going to do, if I can get this all, every time you buff your paints out and you blend them out, wipe your blending cloth or your blending brush on a rag. Just keep it on your lap and keep drying it off because you want your blending brush to be super dry. Okay, so let's start with some purple. I don't have very much on my brush, but this is actually way more than I even need right now. So we're gonna go up here and we're gonna put some purple on. So don't freak out, but this is the color. I absolutely love it. So, and when I put the first bunch of paint on, I try to kind of make a line. I often use the width or the edge of my brush for a line, but it's not crucial. I mean, a lot of people don't paint with really actual good lines. They just kind of create off kind of shapes, whatever, but put a little bit down here. You don't need a ton at the bottom and a little bit at the top. So I'm not blending these in really well there. Then I'm going to take my pink and put a little bit in here. And I want the pink to go up into the purple. So I'm going to take it right up into the purple and right over into the purple. And it's starting to mix with my purple, but that's not the blending part. That's just combining the two so that when I do go to blend, it will look nice. So I just need a titch more pink in here. All right. So, like I said, it doesn't matter how you get your paint on, it matters how you take it off. So I'm kind of messy sometimes putting it on. Okay, then I'm going to take my white brush, and this is just a flat 1 inch kind of, or maybe 1.5 inch, but it's just a flat angled brush. So I want my highlight to be in here. So I'm going to just take a little bit of this paint. It does not take much, a tiny bit, honestly, and just go straight across. I want it to go right across this piece here. A little bit more. Okay, and I'm going to pull it up into that pink and over into the white a tiny little bit. So then I'm going to take my blending brush, and my blending brush is slightly damp. It doesn't even have to be. And I'm just going to start blending the colors. So you go up, down, sideways, which you can go all over the place like that if you want to. So what this is doing is it's turning it into a really pretty mauve with a purple outline now. Just like that. Now, the paint is wet, so it's blending really nicely. But over here it's a bit sticky, so I'm just going to spritz it with my water bottle just a tiny, tiny bit. And I'm not too worried about getting the edges quite yet. I'll do that on my last round of paint. I'll clean up the edges. So that is one drawer. I think that looks pretty good. So that's the first coat, right? I want to show you something. So this created a new mauve. This is the Fusion Mauve. It's totally different. It's a totally different color. So that's why I wanted to go with the bright purple and the pink, because I know that this is the color that is on that little movie Frozen that all the little girls are watching. They all want to be Elsa. I think her name is Elsa. So there I just added a bit more purple up there. And I'm going to blend that in. So we're going to move to the next drawer. And I'm going to probably move you over a little bit. Put you there. Okay, so same thing. A tiny bit of purple. Doesn't take much at all. Just spread it out. So you want it to be fairly evenly applied. some on the end, some on this bottom part. Don't need much on the bottom. The heavier it should be probably on the top. A little bit more purple on the ends here. So I'm going to do about the same as I did before with how much I put on and where I put it. So I'm going to use the width of my brush here and just at the top here. Okay, and some pink. Put some pink on here. This is the English Rose by Fusion. So I'm going to take it right up into the purple and right over here into the purple. I want to just get it on there. I don't care if it's blended. I don't care if it's just even sitting there. I just want it right now to just be there. And I'm mixing it up the purple. So now I have a layer of pink. And now I'm going to put a tiny bit of white, and I do mean a tiny bit. If you put too much white, you're going to end up having to go redo everything. So this is the white, and I'm going to go again right through the center. The reason I'm not painting this whole piece white is because I can blend the white upward and downward. So I just want it to be in the general vicinity. Then I'm going to take my fairly dry blending brush again and just start blending it out. I'm going to move this one back. This brush, I think, makes all the difference to attempts at blending. It's really kind of neat. And you can go this way if you want, and then finish it off in the same direction that way. I just love this purple. The purple is a Dixie Belle chalk mineral paint, and it's called Amethyst. And it is gorgeous. And I needed that color in order to get this blend with the Raw Silk from Fusion and the English Rose from Fusion. So you can see on these two here that we have done, you can see the little bit of the pink and then the white. What the pink is really doing is it's blending into the purple to tone it down and creating this beautiful mauve color, and yet the purple is outlined just like I was talking about with the coloring book. The purple is still outlined really beautifully there. And we'll go to the next drawer. And then I'm going to clean my brush off on my towel here, and you want to wipe this brush after every time you blend. Wipe it to keep it fairly dry. So we're going to go to this again. This is the purple, and we're going to go right across. This is the Amethyst Dixie Belle paint. It's a beautiful deep purple color, and it's being blended with Fusion Mineral Paints, English Rose, and Raw Silk, which is an off-white, and English Rose is a beautiful pink color. Okay, so I'm going to go under here a little bit. And each drawer doesn't have to be exact. Like, I'm kind of smearing this purple on here, not being really exact, that it's exactly the same as the drawer before. And that kind of gives it a really interesting look as well. It takes away that super uniform look that you get from furniture that you buy at the store, you know, that's pre-done, prefabricated. Okay, so we'll go to pink. And when I do this, you can see the pink very clearly, that it's very pink. But I'm going to blend it up into the purple. And I'm going to smoosh it over into the other end, into the purple. there. So it's really kind of, I just really kind of sloppily apply it. I'm not being super fussy with it. And I just want to get my pink on, which is the body of the drawer. Kind of make a little bit of an outline with it, and then a little tiny bit of the white. So I want my white to be mostly in the middle. I don't want to move it all around because as I'm blending, it's going to move it up and it's going to move it down. So we'll say that's about right. So if I pull you in really close here, you can see the purple, the pink blended into the purple, and then the white. So that's just the paint on there. It looks horrible like that if you left it like that. But you can see from the ones above it where we blended that it looks really beautiful already. And that's just the first coat. So I think it really helps to have this gray undercoat as well. I'm going to spritz this a bit because it is a big area and the paint's a little bit sticky. So we're going to start up here. I'm going to blend this pink up into the purple. And then catch it with my brush and bring it up into the purple. Catch it with my brush and bring it up. And then here, just blend it in on the sides. Sorry, my drawer is rattling. And here I'm going to blend the white up into the mauve, which is now mauve. And I'm going to blend it down a little bit. And if I don't like how it's blended, I can change any of the color by just adding a bit more of a certain color. You don't want to, if you spritz your piece with the water, do not use too much water because then your paint becomes super runny. So for a first coat, I think that looks really pretty. And it really didn't take much. I can see here that I've got more white than I want. So I'm going to go back with my pink and just add a bit more pink to tone that white down. And then I'm going to add a little bit more purple at the bottom here. Just a hint of purple at the bottom. And then I'm going to blend it out. Just like that. Okay, so I think that's starting to look pretty good. I can see the top drying and it's starting to look, you can see my purple outline, you can see the pink, and you can see the white highlight. So with each coat that we do, that's going to become more and more and more prominent. So if I wanted next time to tone all the purple down, I would just add more pink to this edge. I wouldn't add any more purple. I would just add pink to the edge and then white to the middle. But I kind of like how it looks. I think I'm hoping anyway that this set sells to some little girls. Maybe twin girls would be cute. I'm sure it will. I just think it's such a cute couple of pieces. Okay, let's lock this in here so you can see where we are at. How's that? Okay, move this down a little bit. Perfect. Is that good? I wish I had a different tripod maybe for my Christmas wish list. So I'm going to put purple on. And again, this is not a fusion purple, which I usually use fusion mineral paints, but this is a Dixie Belle Amethyst, and it's a beautiful color. Love this color. The Dixie Belle paints are super smooth and super rich pigment, as you can tell, but they are chalk paint, and whenever you use a chalk paint, you have to seal it with either wax or some kind of sealer. Some kind of top coat. And put some down here. So just like my coloring book analogy that I was talking about when I first started this video, this is what I'm doing right now, is I'm outlining my piece. Well, you know what? I'm not getting any of my purple on my brush for some reason. Huh, crazy. Well, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more in here. Again, I'm using the width of my brush for my, and that's really dark, so I know I've got way too much on there, but I'm going to leave it. I could tone it down next round. And we'll add a little bit better line here. Okay, so switch to pink, pinkaroo. And put the pink on. I think with spraying the handles gold, like I said, the gold that's on them is okay, but I sprayed one today just to see if it would make a drastic difference, and it really, really did. So I'm going to spray them all and put them on, because I think the gold that was on it is actually kind of oxidizing a little bit. So we'll make it nice and fresh, and then some little girl will have it for a very long time. So what I did there, because I had such heavy purple, is I put and that's just how you would tone down a mistake like that. I'm not too concerned about the very, very edges, the rims of the drawers right now, because like I said, I'm going to go back and on the last coat, I'll be super careful and do all of the rims of the drawers perfectly. So we're going to pull this white right through the middle and take our blending brush, good old blending brush, and we're going to blend this. Okay, so it's a little bit dry, so I'm just going to give it one quick spritz. This blending brush again is a 2.5 or 3 inch fat chalk type brush. It's a synthetic one though. It's not the really coarse chalk type brush. It's very soft. And I have found if you use too soft of a brush for blending, it's not going to blend. And if you use too harsh of a brush with harsh bristles, like most chalk brushes are, it is going to leave really bad brush marks. So don't use just any old thing. Be very careful. I think this is either a Premier or a Bennett brand brush. I don't know, I've had it for a while now, so I can't really remember. So now I'm going to survey my drawer. Because I put so much pink on, I don't find that my highlight color is enough. So I'm going to go back, add more purple to where I think I took too much off. There's a little bit over here, it's not bad, but in here it's really light. So this is just my outline color. And then I'll blend that in. You just keep going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and adding and taking away. And that's why I said it takes about 3 coats, because your first 2 coats you're kind of getting your shape, and then your next coats is your where you're really defining it. I have to put a bit more pink back on here because now I have too much purple again. So just a tiny bit of pink in there. Tiny, tiny, tiny bit. And I think this drawer's not too bad. It's a little bit much. But we'll let it dry, and that's what I said. When you let it dry and you have your, first couple of coats on, and then you let it dry overnight, and you come back to it the next day, that's going to be your true colors, is when it's completely, totally dry. So don't even attempt to do this all in one night, because you'll never get it done. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty sweet. What do you guys think? Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. This drawer, I think I might pull this drawer out because I find it hard to bend over like that. It's a really well-made set, I have to say, which is kind of surprising, but it is. Okay, so we'll do purple, a little bit of purple. And really, I've not used too much in the way of purple paint so far. I've used maybe a tablespoon. So it's not like you have to put a ton of it on. You don't. So this line here is the width of my brush. If you wanted to make a circle, you just keep going around the circle and your outline would be kind of the shape of an oval, but I want it to be more in a square shape or a rectangle. Okay, so now we'll do our pink. And we'll swap the pink on. And I want my pink to go up into this purple and over to the edge of the purple. I'm going to pull it all the way over here to cover this gray bit. Okay. Well, that's probably about right. I think it's a little heavy on the bottom. That's okay, we can correct it next time. And a little bit of white right across the middle. So this is just getting the paint on, it's not the blending part. So there's my white. Now, take my blending brush and start to blend. So I'm pulling the pink up into the purple and then pulling it down. And down here, I'm pulling the purple up into the pink. And even with blending, you can be a little bit rough, but then you just go back and smooth it all out at the end. So it's a little bit sticky, my paint, so I'm going to spray it. And spraying it just loosens up the paint again, so it's pliable to work with. Okay, one more blended drawer. All right, so that's pretty nice, I think. What do you guys think? Leave some comments and let me know what you think so far. It's supposed to match those little guys over there. So, what I am going to do now with the bottom here, I'm just going to move this out of the road. Into here. So what I'm doing down here is pretty much the same thing. Oh, that hurts the knees. So I'm just taking my purple. And what I want to do here is make an outline of the purple. So once again, I'm making a similar outline. And it's not going to go on perfectly. And I don't want it to actually go on perfectly. Can you see that really well? I think I'm going to lower this. So hold on, going for another ride. I just find it kind of awkward when the tripod's way up there and you guys are kind of looking down on things instead of looking at things. There. We can get you there somewhere. Not looking at the floor, but looking here. Ah, that's better. Okay, so I've got my purple on, and I need my pink. I'm gonna put my paint tray down. My pink is starting to turn mauve, but that's okay. I don't mind. Put my pink in, and again, I'm gonna pull it up into the purple. I can even go up into this leg a little bit at this point, whatever. Into the purple and down into the purple a little bit. Kind of messy looking. And then take a little bit of the white right across here. And then take the nice big fat blending brush and just start blending. So I'm pulling it all together. I really like how this dark is there, so I'm going to add a little bit more here. A little bit more of that dark. And this is where you can, even on your second coat, you can fine tune where you have everything. I like that. Let's blend that in. This does not leave weird brush strokes either. It's really weird. It almost like buffs your paint out. It's beautiful. Okay, so that's my first coat there. With these, I'm just gonna paint purple. These will be purple on the bottom, and then I'm going to put gold highlights with gold gilding wax on the tops of these. They have really pretty, if you can see, I don't know if you can see them on that one, but they have really pretty legs on these. So I decided to blend out the legs a little tiny bit and then put the gold wax on top, and I think it looks so pretty. Okay. So with these ones, I need my box. I just did a tiny bit of pink, and I did it on the top, and then I kind of dragged it down. I went up here. Okay, so now I'm going to pull my pink downward into the foot, and then a little bit down here. I don't want the bottom to be as light as the top, so we're kind of accenting the bottom a little bit more, like so maybe. Okay, so at this point I need to do this rail here. So I'm going to take these drawers out. This will take a couple minutes, but then you can see what we do with the sides. And I think that looks so pretty. Look at, isn't that gorgeous? It's going to be really nice. We have to do the top yet too. So I'm going to put you here while I take these drawers out. You go to your second and third coat of blending, which I recommend that you do. It blends so much nicer, and pretty much eliminates all the marks after that. I think I will move this over so you can see better. Put that away. Okay, so for the sides, I don't want there to be too much purple, just a hint of purple. So I'm going to go and do pink first. And I'm going to do a whole line of pink on here first. And what I would do here is the same thing on these bars, the crossbars. I'm going to get right up underneath here. I have already painted the entire underside of this lip with gray paint. So it's got one coat of gray paint up there. I'm going to do this really quick over here. Okay. So then I'm going to take a little bit of the purple and smoosh it down. I'm going to get my stool back here so I can sit down and do this. Okay, let's take some purple paint, just a titch. Tiny, tiny bit. As soon as this dark purple mixes with the amethyst, with the rose, it becomes this beautiful mauve color. I just love it. Okay, so I want it to be kind of random mix like that. And then I'm going to take my blending brush. I'm going to put a tiny bit of white in here. Take my blending brush and blend it out. So I don't even want it blended perfectly. I want some of the purple to be just a tiny, tiny bit darker in spots. Just a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then if I hit the feet with my paint here, I'll blend it out again over top of the feet. So you don't have to be super careful, but like I just did, I hit the bottom of the foot there with my blending out, and I just blended over top of the foot once again. So that's one bar blended out. These ones just get painted, so I probably won't bore you with that. You've seen the one foot get blended. So let's do this side. Now, these are a little bit tricky for people. I know they were for me until I kind of figured stuff out. This looks really pretty. I love that. Just so pretty. Okay, so the sides, the sides. They're my nemesis. Let's move this so you got a good shot. So it's the same thing, really. I don't want a ton of paint, a ton of purple, but I'm going to do one stripe of purple. And I'm going to go across the top, one stripe. So when I say one stripe, it's about 1 inch thick. And then I'm going to go down about the same thickness, about 1 inch wide. And I'm going to go across the bottom, just a little bit. And I'm going to pull it up from the bottom. And then I'm going to sort of blend it out into the middle a tiny bit, because I want some of that purple in the middle. And I kind of want it random like that. So you can see I've got a little bit of the purple kind of everywhere. Now, whoops, my thing's unstable. Okay, looks really yucky, to be quite honest. And I am getting it on this bar that I just painted, and that's fine. Okay, so what I want over here is I want a little bit of this in here. So just like I said with the coloring book when I was little, I'm outlining my picture, basically. I'm going to go up in here. All right, very random. But I like that look, and I want it to blend that way, so that's not by accident. Now this is a huge surface, and I have this paint. So if I try to paint this like that with just a good blob of paint, it's going to get dried out right about here. So I'm going to spray the whole side just a little bit so that my paint almost becomes like a pink wash. It's almost on the runny side, but it's not quite. And I know it looks very scary at the moment, what we're doing, but there's a method to the madness. As long as there's a method to the madness, it's okay. I'm going to get right up in this corner, right down in here. And again, so what I'm doing is I'm blending this runny pink into the purple. You can see that? And that's why I had the purple in there randomly, because I knew this pink would pick it up and blend it out. So we're not blended yet, we're just applying the paint still. So a little bit across the bottom. Wherever I put the pink the heaviest, or the purple the heaviest, is where it's going to show up the heaviest in the end as well. So I'm going to do this whole side all at once. I want more pink there. And I kind of want to leave that purple bit there. Okay, now the fun part. So what I want is a little bit of white in the middle. Not too much, but I want it to go down as far as I want it. I want it to be like a flash of white in the middle. And I want it to go down as far as I need it to go down. So now that we've got all that on, and it looks really brutal, we're going to blend it out. So I've got my blending brush. I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to get these bits as tight as I can in the very corners up here. And I'm going to go across the bottom, and I can feel my brush actually getting a bit sticky. So I'm going to mist it overnight, or however long I leave it. Then my next coat, I know, okay, this part's got too much. This part doesn't have enough of a certain color, and I can just add it and fix it. So I'm going to put a little bit of, that's pretty much blended, but I don't like this now. So I'm going to go back, put a little bit more of the purple back into this bar. And I'm going to wet my brush a little bit and blend it out. So this is supposed to be kind of the look of the colors in the movie Frozen. The second movie, not the blue and white colors, but the mauve and purple and mauve colors. Okay, what do you think? What do we all think? So that's that, and I'm okay with that. It's not perfect, but first coat is not going to be perfect at all. Okay, so now we're on to the fun stuff, or the not so fun stuff. I'm going to do the top. So I'm just going to finish up the top. I've got my purple outline. I've got my rose pink in the middle there. And let's see. I can get a little bit more height here for you guys. So now what I'm going to do is just add a little bit of the white to the center, and I'm going to blend it out. This is where a camera person would be so handy, because they could see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to put, again, the white right into the middle. And I don't want too much. I just want it to be like a flash of white. Right across this middle section here. If you put too much white on and you really know you've got too much white on, all of a sudden just take a cloth and wipe it off, because it's a little bit easier than trying to fiddle with it. So I've got my pink, my purple, and now I'm going to take my big fluffy brush again, and I'm going to just give it a little spritz of water on the top to make sure all these colors glide together. And I'm just going to start blending. So I'm going to pull some of the white down into the mauve, or into the purple. And that will turn the purple into mauve. So we'll do that first. So that's nice. And I'll go around the side and do that. Really pretty color. And then the dark purple, once it dries, will still show a little bit underneath. Not horribly, but you can see already that the dark purple is showing up underneath here, even though I've just gone over it with white and pink. Okay, so we're going to go back here. I'm gonna lift the camera up. I think I can do it and do this at the same time. All right, hold on. I have to do this without unplugging my charger. And can you see that there? So I'm just blending these colors together. And you can go this way. It's actually advisable to go the opposite direction. And that just blends out your brush strokes as well as your color. Now, my paint's too sticky here, so I have to put you down. And it's not sticky right here in the front, so you can see how nicely it's blending. But it is too sticky here, so I have to get some water on it. I'm going to put you down, grab my water bottle, just give it a little spritz where it's drier. That's better. So this is the first layer of blending, and I will let it dry, do a second layer, and then basically my third layer is all about touching up. So I might have to go over it with very, very light touch-ups. I don't think it'll take too much, but it does need a final touch-up. I've found anyway from the bit that I've done, because that's where you get your tones. If you want to lighten something up and you want to darken a certain area, that's where you do it. It's on the third touch-up coat. So what I have here is I have some brush marks.
Okay.
Brush marks there. So all I'm going to do is take my brush and go side to side, just like that, all the way out. Get rid of any of those blobby brush marks, just like you do if you're painting just one color. You would do that too. Okay, and then I'm going to go around this edge, just nicely, making sure everything is smoothed out, just around the edge. Okay, so now that's my first coat of the blended top there. And it's supposed to match those little guys. So let's put this all, move this down a little bit. These need to be painted, and I think I'll do them really quick. I'm just going to do them pink, and the second coat I might add a little bit of purple too, I'm not sure. I did on the nightstands, I did them blended, so I might do that as well here, but I just want this little bit of pink just as a base coat for now. Don't need much, and it doesn't take long. And then I'm also going to go, I've put gray in here, so I don't really need to go redo that, because I do have a coat of gray in there. And you want to do that on your drawer, just because when you put the drawers in, and if it's got ugly old brown showing out there, then it doesn't really look good. Okay, so that is how I would do those. And then this side again, I'm going to do the layer of pink I've got on there, and then a little bit of purple. And I'll let it dry. You can see this one is drying a little bit dark, this one here. So next round I'll know to lighten it up with a bit more pink, because I don't want the rails to be as dark. I want them to be a little bit different. But I think that's starting to look pretty good. That's the top again. The drawers have all been painted and they're drying. So I'm going to carry on and do the rest of this blending exactly the same way that I just did this first coat, except if it's dark somewhere, I'll add more pink and white, and I'll blend that as a layer, and I'll skip the purple. So it just really depends. Or I might take a little paintbrush and use it for a tiny bit of purple here and there around the edges and that sort of thing. And then when I'm ready to do the waxing and the handles, I'll come back on, and the gold building, I'll come back on and do another video. So I hope that helped, a little bit about blending paints, and I hope you learned a little bit from it. I'm sorry about my phone dying and cutting off. But